from March 2020 to March 2021, that year-long analysis, we see that Latinas actually have the biggest drop in labor force size. So the number of Latinas in the workforce of all demographic groups, that's around 3%, which is the highest decrease of all other groups. And then when we kind of hone in on specific months, like for example, August to September, which is when children tend to go to school, and we know that childcare and household activities kind of tie women away from the workforce because they're more likely to take it on, we see that another large number of Latinas dropped out of the workforce. When we start thinking about the beginning of the pandemic, so from March to May of 2020, we see in particular industries where they're segregated, like leisure and hospitality, around 700,000 Latinas, which is close to 44% across the country, just drop out. So really we can see an annual, really large decrease, but then when we hone in month to month, there's also really large drops. We spend more time really thinking about, well, who's unemployed, who's looking for a job, as opposed to, well, who might have dropped out and maybe why. So I think if there's something that I can emphasize is that we should also be thinking about those folks that are dropping out of the workforce, might not have any more benefits, might not be receiving unemployment benefits, might not have an income. What does that mean, not just for them, for their families, for their children, but then also for the economic future of the country?
The pandemic hit Latina and Black women, women of color, the hardest. We are going to take generations to recover. We hear a lot of concerns from our members who are trying to get back into the workforce and asking the question, what if other coworkers or if in the workplace people are not vaccinated? That is another concern, as well as the fact that we don't have childcare. We are going into a long summer after a long year of pandemic, and we're continuing to struggle.
Increase access to education, increase access to, who's going to college, who's entering these higher payer jobs. I think that could help us. I don't think that our culture really is a problem. I think the problem is that we have no alternatives, and the alternatives that are there, which are low-paying jobs, aren't enough to really sustain the family, aren't enough to sustain their economic and financial well-being. So I think that the solution is, respecting that our culture really values family, but then having policy mirror that and having policy support family, as opposed to just, expect and cross our fingers and have mothers enter the workforce and leave their children behind, because we know that culturally that's not going to happen.